Hi there, Release Fire here, so I'm going to talk you through the first significantly challenging boss here in Luigi's Mansion 3, and it's this piano ghost boss. He's kind of challenging because there's a few different phases and some of his hits actually hit you really quite hard, and it's kind of difficult to work out necessarily what you're supposed to do in each of the phases. It takes a fair bit of time, so I'm going to talk you through all of that now. Hopefully the video is going to help you out. If it does, drop me a like below. As ever, all of your support is massively appreciated. But to begin with, it just starts out by controlling all the seats, and all you really need to do at this stage is avoid getting hit. So just keep on running until all of the seats are gone, and then you'll get a little bit miffed and send out some other characters to attack you, and it's these ballerinas with the masks. Now obviously you need to get rid of the masks, and then as soon as you get the masks out of the way with the poltergust, you can then start hoovering them up. However, there's one in particular that will not allow you to do the slam, and it's this one. Essentially, she will just be continuously slowly counting down. So the best bet is just to ignore that one, and when it sends out a load of other ballerinas, try and get them and try to get them to slam into each other if you can. That's kind of the best way to try to get as much damage as possible. But either way, it's just a case of taking off their masks, hoovering them up and slamming them into each other. And as soon as you've taken out the last of the others, suddenly the one that wouldn't let you do a slam will now let you do a slam, and that should allow you to finish off the ballerinas. But the problem is, this is still quite early on in the phases of attack. There's still a whole nother section still to come, and in the final phases of the boss fight, the pianist possesses the piano and stomps down on you. So you start by just trying to get out of the way, which is relatively easy earlier on, but it does get a little bit more difficult. And then when it does this final one, you've got to use the poltergust burst move to be able to jump over it, and then you can hit it with the torch blast and send it to the stage where it'll start firing out these bombs. Hoover up one of the bombs and then target the top of the piano and fire it by using the ZL button. Fires out the bomb and then blows it up, and then the next stage is a little bit tricky, but what you're supposed to do is fire the plunger at the target in the middle, and then you can hoover it up and pull it down with A, and that'll smash it down onto the floor. And then once it's on the floor, you can actually use the torch properly to flash it, and you can start to hoover it up and do some slam moves on it. And you can see there's 400 plus, I think it was 450 to start with, damage you need to do. So it's a fairly hefty boss, but as soon as you get A on the go, you can do a lot of damage. It'll take around about 3 of those to finish it off, but the problem is it gets progressively more difficult after each go, as you'll kind of see now. So it repossesses the piano and starts firing out keys. Now on this first one, it's just one set of keys, but it does get more later on. Now you can see that it's easy to think that it's going to fire out more keys on the first go, but it doesn't. It just goes back to doing its jump moves. So then you're back to jumping out of the way, using the burst move, and then using a flash to send it back on up to the stage. Once it's back up to the stage, you want to get another bomb, target the top, send it back on in, and then you're back into the same phase as earlier, where you need to use the plunger to be able to pull it down to the ground. And then obviously once it's down on the ground again, you can go back to chasing the ghost. Now I've got one tip that I found particularly useful, which is I focused on picking up the hearts first to make sure I had enough health to take it on in each of the phases. The bombs in particular can do a lot of damage as you're chasing them down. Some have much shorter timers than others, and you want to go for the ones that are not red, the ones that look like they've got a longer timer, to give you a better chance of being able to hoover one up and fire it back at it. So then it goes back to these keys firing, and it does 3 bursts of them in this final phase, and then it'll just keep on jumping. And it doesn't just jump behind you, it tries to preempt where you're going, so it can jump in front of you and behind you, so it's easy to get it wrong. So the best thing to do is just to look where the light is and to avoid that. And then for the final one, it'll start to chase you down, do the slam move, and then you just burst, flash, send it back to the stage, and this should be the final one. So they're then just picking up the heart and then it's all about finding a bomb with enough time to be able to fire it back. If you're struggling to pick up any of the bombs, it definitely comes in handy angling the poltergust downwards. You can do it by just tilting your controller down a little bit, which will help you to pick them up a little bit easier. And then it's just a case of plunging, smashing him down, and then you've just got the final catch to do. So again, just sort of pick up the hearts is the first thing to do. It sends out a big raft of these blazing notes. Run out of the way of them, and then, like I said earlier, you're trying to flash it before it gets a chance to do anything, and then just pull in the opposite direction. Do what you kind of do all the way through the game, and then, because you've destroyed the piano by this stage, you should be able to just do a simple flash, finish it off, and yeah, just smash it down into the ground. And that's everything that you need to know about how to beat the piano ghost boss on the 4th floor here in Luigi's Mansion 3. Like I said earlier, hopefully the video helps you out. If it does, drop me a like below. As ever, it is massively, massively appreciated. You can also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already with the links on the left-hand side, and hit that bell button if you want to get notifications for all of my videos as they come out. You can check out my shop, my hoodies and t-shirts in the shop just below that, and the rest of my series on Luigi's Mansion 3 with the links on the right-hand side. Leave any comments below, and I will catch you next time.